everyone. Perri here again with another Collider exclusive interview, and I am quite pumped about this one because this is for a movie that has really kind of changed the game in many ways that I greatly appreciate. And we're also talking about a filmmaker who has many other films that I admire quite a bit. It's Catherine Hardwicke.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
This is incredible. It makes me feel incredibly old that this movie is 10 years old. I will never forget going to my press screening for that because it was one of my first ever.
Oh, cool.
And just thinking about where I was then and how everything has evolved since is just kind of mind-blowing.
Was that in L.A.?
It was in New York.
Oh, okay.
I moved from New York to L.A. 2.5 years ago, which also makes me feel like I can't believe how much time has gone by.
I know. It's incredible. That's so fun. So that was one of your first press screenings?
Yeah, and I even remember not the first movie, but then the second movie was the first movie that I brought my little sister to a press screening, and it was like the greatest thing in the world.
I'm the best big sister ever. Yeah.
Before we even jump into Twilight, I kind of wanted to go back to the beginning of your career a little bit because one of the things that I really think is super important with making any movie or any TV show or anything at all really is the idea of someone having experience in multiple elements of the process here. And I know you started with production design, and I also read that you made yourself take some acting classes too.
Yes,
so
I did.
that's really I think it's one of the smartest things. So can you talk a little bit about why that was important to you to have all of that under your belt here?
Yeah, well, it was really cool because I was trained as an architect, so that was a natural fit for production design, and I love building sets, I love color, painting, all that. But then when I really started wanting to make my own movies, because I could see that I was going into great detail of the set design, but sometimes the movies weren't that good. I'm like, okay, instead of complaining, I should try to make my own. But I knew I could do the visuals, but I thought, I don't really know. I've never tried to act really since high school or whatever, and I need to know, what does it take to be able to concentrate so much to become a character and tune out all the lights and all the other bullshit, but actually stay in that moment and make the moment come alive? And so taking the acting classes, I took for 4 years between every job. I take other classes where I had to get up on stage. Even I made myself get up there and do performances for showcases, so embarrassing. But I realized, how good it would be if when I directed, if I could create a safe environment, a comfortable environment, a quiet environment, a focused environment to support the actors.
We're just having a discussion about a different movie with that in mind. I guess I'll say it. We were talking about The Shining and the idea of bringing out a great performance, but also the importance of making an actor feel safe. And it's, when do you cross that line to get a great performance? But acting is hands down one of the most vulnerable positions you could have on a film set. And I don't think I even realized that because, everyone looks at an actor and, a glamorous field. I wish I could do that too. But until you're standing there and you actually feel how, truly uncomfortable you can be in the middle of a room full of people, you don't really get it.
It's all on you. And the director's like, no, I need you to feel deeper, and this is a heavier moment, and you're trying to get there, but somebody's over there talking about where they're going to lunch tomorrow and this and that, and or you can even tell that the makeup people don't think you look that great that day because you got a zit or something like that, and so then you're nervous about that. Or even in the case of Twilight, for Rob, he had a lot to live up to. He's written in the book as the most beautiful human being on the planet. Well, how can you be beautiful every second? Or if sometimes I would be like, okay, let's just move your shoulder a tiny bit this way. He goes, oh, do I look really awkward? I go, no, just for the light, or what? Or do I look bad? I'm like, no.
Well, that's kind of one of the key roles of a director too, is just making sure everyone's comfortable, and not even just the actors, but bringing the entire production together. And there's many movies of yours where I can feel that happening. And growing up, I think I had watched 13 with my family, repeatedly over and over and over. I know. Well, I feel like I watched a
it's-
lot of movies way too young, but I'm convinced that part of the reason why I ended up semi-okay is because I was always exposed to that kind of stuff, and I kind of learned to understand those things from the movies I was watching.
And they call it like, what is it called? Like cinema therapy.
Yeah.
Like they called 13 cinema therapy, that you could watch it with your kid and you didn't have to say, are you doing this? You could say, do you think it was good that Tracy did that? Or was that good that Evan's character did that? Or how could they have talked better to each other? And then that could open up lines of communication.
And it's even more powerful when you do it with the respect of, presenting it in a way where it doesn't say, this is bad, don't ever do this, but you really get into her shoes and understand why that would happen. And that winds up making it even more of a beneficial story to experience in the long run.
Right, non-judgmental, because I try to make it like there's a lot of fun things that they did that everybody wants to go do. Yes, let's go to the park, sneak out, climb out the window, go to the park and run around and have fun. It's not all bad what she does. She's experimenting, and we all have to learn, experiment, find our own limits, make our own decisions. You can't have your parents telling you this, then you'll never be able to have any judgment later on.
That's the beauty. That's why I love this industry so much, and I feel like I'm feeling it more so than ever now. Also because it's Oscar time, and now is the time of year where we get to see new movies that really have the power to change lives, and it's all about. Anytime I can get my hands on a movie where I can experience something that I've never personally been through and feel it through the eyes of another character. That's so
cool.
I love being here.
Yeah,
I love being here.
I love being transported into this mindset of last night I was at the Academy and Student Film Awards, and there's a woman that made a movie in Mongolia, about a Mongolian nomadic doctor, and you're just like, wow, I would never even think about this part of the world, and it's so cool.
That's
so visceral
thing,
to be there. Yeah.
And speaking of Twilight now, because it's not shot in Mongolia or anything like that, but we're talking here about a movie that really did, I think, change the shape of the industry to a degree, and also change a lot of lives out there, because we're talking about source material too that was also extremely popular before you even brought it to screen and kind of brought it to the masses. So going back to the very beginning of Twilight, I'm curious to hear about the process of actually being hired to direct something like that, because especially between now and then, just with what I do here at Collider, we're constantly, we've got the hiring element of the industry just under a microscope, and we're always talking about, who's in talks for something, how they narrow down a list, and I imagine the process has changed quite a bit from then up until now. So how did that happen for you? Do they call you up? Do you submit your own work for it?
Well, it was so interesting because you're right. Now, like if there's a Marvel movie, there would be a list created for here are the possible candidates. They would call all the agencies, figure out how to narrow it down. That was not the case with Twilight, because this was not a guaranteed hit. This was in turnaround from Paramount. People thought this movie should not be made, didn't want to put any money to it, and no studio wanted to make it. So this upstart studio, Summit, they were usually a distribution company. Before that, international distribution, they thought, let's start making some original content. So I was on the jury at Sundance 2007, and I was watching movies and, saw Anna Kendrick in Rocket Science. That's why I wanted Anna to be in this.
I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah, super cool. And so I was talking to the Summit people, and they had seen 13. They liked it. They said, look, we've got 5 scripts that we're kind of interested in. Maybe one of them would be a good movie. See if you respond to any of them, and if you're interested, then come in and meet with us. So all 5 scripts I read threw in the trash. But the next day I thought, wait, that vampire one, I wonder if it's based on a book or something. So I read the book, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I get something from this book that was not in the screenplay. So I said, I want to have a meeting with you guys. But I walked into the meeting. I said, first of all, that screenplay has to go in the trash. It has gone way off track. They had Bella as a track star. She was being chased by the FBI, riding around on jet skis. I'm like, no. It went all the note process, notes. Finally, it had gone way off board. I said, we've got to do a new script where it's more like the book, where you really feel like crazy feeling like I'm falling madly crazy in love with a bad boy, somebody I shouldn't be in love with, and I'm dizzy and I can't think of anything else. Just like what you think of when you write the guy's name, Robbie Watkins, 8,000 times in your notebook when you're in 7th grade or something. I want to feel that. I want to see if I can make that come alive on a screen. And then I love the whole, and then I took in all these images that I'd photoshopped together of like vampires walking through a forest, because I'd never seen that. You see just vampires in the back alleys and cathedrals in London and Paris, but you don't see them in this beautiful forest with this mist. So I thought this could be something special, and they saw my images and they liked the idea. And they said, okay, well, let's go forward and try to option the material. They didn't even have an option. So they got the material. They told Stephanie that I wanted to make it much more like the book. She got on board with that. And then we just started figuring out how to make the movie, how much will it cost, and all that stuff.
That's an incredible process, especially when we're sitting here comparing it to how things are done today. Is there anything else about the making of that movie? And I guess even we can extend that conversation about hiring a director to casting too, where, I mean, assembling a package nowadays is just like a big show, and it has to be done just the right way for a certain budget or a certain, like whether you're talking about like an Oscar package or something like that. Did they let you have free reign with who you wanted to bring in?
Well, that was what was so interesting, because there was nobody that was known that had any level of a name. I mean, of course, several years before, Rob had been in a nice part in Harry Potter, but you hadn't seen him much since then, or if at all. And so he wasn't like a household name. Kristen wasn't. She, of course, Panic Room, but it was really Jodie's movie and all that stuff. So the idea that we had an unknown cast, even the marketing people were like, wait a minute, we can't book talk shows, we can't get magazine covers, we can't get any play out of this. So it's all going to be like on the book and on you, Catherine, all this. I'm like, okay, whatever. But these are the people that I thought really worked well. And since they didn't have a spotlight on us. Like, it's not supposed to be a Marvel movie opening. They weren't spending $200 million making it like, Wonder Woman. And we aren't expecting it to, make $1 billion opening. So the expectations were low. I got to make it a lot more like an indie film. And the fact that, I wanted people that really had that chemistry together, and they came over to my house and we did the chemistry reads at my house and everything. That's what made the magic, not who they were, but the fact who they were together.
It's blowing my mind to have this conversation now, at 10 years after the fact, and getting a little insight into what it was like then, because, I mean, it was a game changer for their careers, and also even thinking about what this movie did for the whole young adult book to film trend that followed, because I'm convinced part of the only reason that I actually wound up having a job in this industry is specifically because of Hunger Games, when that one took off.
Which came from Twilight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just so happens that the outlet that I was working at, when it was optioned, I was the only one who had read it. And then all of a sudden that became my beat. And then more YA adaptations became my beat. So...
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I owe quite a bit to this movie.
And after, my Twilight, then 4 more Twilights, then Divergent and Hunger Games, of course, all those were directed by guys, even though they were all written by women, starring women, female-centric. So that was my one disappointment, like, why couldn't they have hired other women for all the rest of them?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like... it's nice to see the industry finally start to hear some of that.
Yes, that's a good point.
It's a little unfortunate that it happens 10 years too late, especially when Twilight is a franchise where it's so important to be in Bella's shoes the entire time to really understand how she's feeling in so many different respects. So, yeah, it's a... And
then I found, like, one consequence of that, all the directors of all those movies we just talked about through Hunger Games, they now all can claim, rightfully so, that they directed these big blockbuster movies. So now there's 10, 12 more men that can claim these giant box office grosses and get these other great jobs than women. So there are very few and far between, as we know, females that have directed something like this or with a decent budget or anything.
Yeah.
Patty, obviously. Yeah.
Of
Patty,
course.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't applaud her enough right now.
Yeah.
Having worked on this, do you have people knocking on your door right now to put you on short list? Because I feel like it's like whenever we're talking about a bit, because we cover a lot of superheroes and Star Wars movies here, and anytime we're talking about a female-led version of one of those stories, we're always coming up with a list of, what female director could actually be on this list. And I feel like that list tends to be like the same names over and over because we know them well from other things like this. So do you find that you're kind of looped into those conversations often?
Well, you kind of, and then, it's just like so mysterious because those are speculations by you guys. They may not be by the studio
Exactly.
or whatever. So, you just never know what the thinking is or what the bias or prejudice or, well, we know unconscious gender bias and everything. I mean, we've studied all that and unpacked it and seen the statistics. So it's very interesting. It's an interesting time because people are being sort of like guilted into a little bit, well, let's try. And I've been at like women's conferences where a guy came up to me, hey, we just did a pilot and we really wanted to have a female director, but we couldn't find one. I was like, how far did you look? Did you call like one person? Oh, Ava DuVernay's not available, and then we have to get a man. And I literally said to him, okay, and Kimberly Pierce standing right there. Kimberly, did they call you? Did you call me? Did you call any other of like 50 great directors? So people got to try a little harder. I think.
That's part of the thing that I don't quite understand. It's like we hear, oh, we're going to go out of our way and we're going to do this epic search and go through a ton of people, and we still come up with not all that much. And I guess I don't quite understand. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And if they give people an opportunity to come in with an open mind and give their pitch and presentation, that would be great. Let us come in there.
Did you ever get the opportunity when you decided not to continue on with the franchise to say, hey guys, what about all these wonderful people you could work with?
Well, no, they didn't exactly ask me, but I was hoping and, talked about it, hoping that there would be other female directors, but there weren't.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the key to all of this, and it seems to be really sparking right now is, in order to inspire change, we just need to keep talking about it. And that's kind of why we're talking about it right now.
And one thing that was really cool, I was just doing something in the Academy for a Latinx event or something, and this girl from Peru, small town in Peru, came up to me and she said, hey, I saw I guess it was the DVD or the Twilight director's notebook, and I saw that the director was a woman. And it made it to my little town in Peru. And I thought, if she could direct something, maybe I could too. Cut to 9 years later, she made a short film that got to the Academy and screened at the Academy in a big event. So it's like, if you see it, you can be it,
It's so wonderful hearing about things like that. This is so random, but I have, for obvious reasons, A Star is Born on my mind right now a lot.
Yeah,
and I know you've worked with Lady Gaga before, and it's just one of the main things that I walked away from that movie thinking about is, just the importance of having, a source of inspiration or a mentor or something like that. So
somebody
to hear
that believes in you,
exactly.
or just, I can see it. This could happen to me.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in your life when you were just starting out your career that was really, looking out for you or inspiring you?
I didn't really have it so much, but I think that's why it's important. That's why it probably took me so long to struggle and, so many twisty paths. So that's why I'm trying to be sure that I try to give back and mentor other people. I teach at Sundance Labs. I just did a thing at, USC, at CalArts, at, everywhere I can, just trying to, spread whatever knowledge I have and ideas and give toolboxes to other people.
Yeah, film school was probably one of the greatest things that I ever did. And
where'd you go?
I was at Columbia in their MFA program.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome! Oh, that's
a lot
cool.
of people came out of that and did some wonderful
really
things.
Good
but
school. Yeah.
The thought of working on this end of the industry for so long before going there and just critiquing other people's work without ever feeling it for myself, that felt a little off to me. And then I made a movie, and wow, it's an incredibly difficult undertaking there.
So cool! Congrats!
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was cool, but it's difficult until you're actually feeling it for yourself to realize just how much is kind of on your shoulder. I mean, from the producing perspective, everything from just developing the material all the way down to just making sure bathrooms have toilet paper. It's like you never know who will be in a bad mood if they have an empty roll of toilet paper somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Looking back on the experience of making this movie, is there any way that you actually shot something or made something happen that nowadays, it could never happen anymore?
Or it would be easier to make it happen,
or
maybe.
or the reverse.
Oh, yeah, because sometimes I think certain advances in CGI technology we could have accomplished more faster and for less money, because I've seen, how fast the industry changes and how on my last movie, Miss Bala, I was able to just say, okay, I want to change that day to night. I want to add this thing. I'm going to shoot this wide with a drone and then fix it later, So I could have done probably a lot more. We didn't use drones even at that time. I don't think anybody was using drones.
No, I can't remember
could have
then.
got like really cool shots, So I love it as technology keeps going. We can just keep advancing and getting, more interesting tools
It gets
to make our movies.
filmmaking opportunities into new hands too, which is really exciting. I mean, now really anybody can go out and buy a drone and have this epic landscape shot.
$50 or whatever it is. Yeah,
I think about it all the time, and then I'm like, no, you're not going to put that to good enough use. Don't do it. Don't do
not
it.
crash and kill somebody.
Well, yeah, that's part of the other fear that I have with buying a giant contraption with spinning blades on it.
Yes.
What is it like for you kind of looking at, I mean, not even just with Twilight, thinking about 13 also and Lords of Dogtown, seeing all of these young up-and-coming actors at the time go on to have, I mean, just epic careers with mind-blowing performances. I mean, I'm thinking about these two in particular. I just can't believe what they've accomplished at this point.
I'm so excited. I was just thinking about this, the legacy of Twilight. They were both, had these beautiful indie spirits, and they both eclectic taste in music and films and literature, and the fact that Twilight was successful gave them the chance to greenlight tons of indie movies that would never be made. So they've actually given this gift back to the world of diverse films and strange films and everything. So that's really cool. You know, it's like a little mini Robert Redford who created the whole Sundance thing, and they've created a lot of great stuff. And and like you say, I'm so proud. Like even Justin Chon, who he directed a great movie, and Anna Kendrick has done like a million awesome things, and Nikki has all these great vegan charity things, and like everybody here has gone and just created like whole interesting worlds.
It's crazy what you can do, and especially when you use that kind of platform for good too. It is very exciting to see that.
And then, like you say, go back to Evan Rachel Wood, Westworld.
Oh my God,
ridiculous.
she is something else in that movie.
She's so good, and the first movie Oscar Isaac did was Nativity, and
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, and then there's all these people like in Lords of Dogtown. Jeremy Renner's in it. America Ferrara, Sofia Vergara. It's like this crazy cast is in there that have all gone and done superstar stuff.
So wait, spill your secret right now. How do you figure out who's going to be like the next hot thing in the future when you're casting?
Magic. Well, you know how it is when you see that magic that somebody has. You know.
That's
So
really
cool.
special. You also have a habit of working with the same people time and time again. So, I mean, what's the key to that as well? I mean, have they ever expressed to you why they keep coming back and want to continue that collaboration?
Well, when you have fun and hopefully have a playful and creative and collaborative sense on the set, that just makes it fun because so much of our life, there's a little bit of the drudgery, like you just said. Okay, is there toilet paper? Are we on schedule? Is the sun coming out? Is it raining on our set? Did somebody not show up? Did the car break down? So, all that stuff has to all line up just to be able to get your shots during the day, have enough shots in the can to cut the scene together,
Do you go back and rewatch any of your movies?
Well, I did see 13 again because for Austin Film Society, for Richard Linklater's thing, they did a tribute for the 15-year anniversary. And that was really fun because Evan and Nikki and Holly, their performances are still so badass. Like you're still just like, holy shit, and seeing it on the big screen. I'd only, seen it, small screens. So again,
I just thought about Brady being in that movie too.
Oh, and Brady Corbett.
Oh my God! Look at what he's on to doing now.
Oh my God, Brady Corbett. He's so good in it too.
Yeah.
And Vanessa Hudgens, and like there's a very wild little, but Brady, I mean, what a badass. I mean, he was only like 15. He was already coming up with these incredible ideas, filming scenes, like in between things. I'm like, you're 15 years old from a little town down in Colorado, and you just asked me, what do I know an older woman that will be in a rape scene that you're filming and you're 15? Is that legal? But, his brain was so... fascinating on so many levels.
It's
He's
interesting
amazing.
seeing that, especially when you consider the movies he's making right now, which are very, very interesting.
Yeah,
and
I
different.
mean, he's like radical brain. Yeah.
So thinking about how you had that effect on him to a degree, who, like, especially for some of the movies where you did some production design on them, like, were there any directors out there that you were kind of maybe looking over their shoulder a lot?
Oh yes, because I worked 2 movies with Richard Linklater, which was really great.
He is just one of my favorites.
We love him, and I would just watch him every day, like, dude, I want to direct too. What advice do you have? And I see the way he worked with actors and plant little seeds and walk away, not push too hard, just very cool things. And then David O. Russell, I did Three Kings with him.
Yeah.
So that was he just creates such a dynamism in each moment, is very alive and just crackling with energy. So that was one of my, close inspirations for 13, because I knew that these girls that I was, creating on screen, or they were in real life, Nikki, were just so dynamic and just moving all the time, and like energy change, from one moment to being very passionate about the next moment to be very upset at the boyfriend, to screaming, to crying, and 6 emotions in like 45 seconds. And so I'm like, I want to feel that it's crackling, that the screen is alive like that.
It definitely feels like that. And even as you were describing it, I'm busy picturing one of my favorite shots from 13, and it's the sprinklers.
I love that scene.
It's incredible how no matter how many times I've seen that movie, and I know every single beat, the second that shot comes up, it's like a rush of energy.
Yes, and you just want to be there. I just want to get up and like jump into those sprinklers. It's so beautiful.
Really, it's a beautiful, beautiful frame. Talking about some of the Twilight imagery too, we were just talking before we started recording about the idea of being able to show gore in a way, or hint at gore, raise stakes without actually showing anything. And one of my favorite shots for that reason is the shot of one of the first kills of the movie, where you're looking underneath through the grates, and all you have is that quick cutaway, and something bad just happened, and you feel it.
Right.
I mean, do you remember kind of framing things like that with that reasoning in mind?
Yeah, and I think also our cinematographer that you mentioned, who did the sprinkler shot, it's Elliot Davis. He's very good. He's, so he did that sprinkler thing, which was actually quite simple. Let's just backlight the backlight water, but you got to get the droplets right and the right kind of light, but it looks amazing. And then, the same thing, the whole mood of Twilight was very, calculated in a way to keep that mood. If the sun did come out, we didn't shoot. We found a way to keep fog, and we had a color palette that was all in the Arctic wolf colors of blues and silvers and grays. Nobody wore like a red shirt or a yellow shirt or something in the movie. So just all those things, thinking about the whole look of the film, created those kind of moods.
Oh my God, that sounds like a scheduling nightmare, though. The thought of not shooting whenever the sun comes out.
We couldn't, because then the vampires would sparkle, and sparkling costs a lot of CGI money, so you can't shoot in the sun.
That is a very, very fair point. And even, I mean, now thinking about scheduling nightmares, the thought of working with so many minors too. It's like, how long did you have to shoot this movie?
Yeah, well, the one that was more scary was 13, because Evan and Nikki both had just turned 14. So that, we had them for only, I believe, 8 hours, and they're in every scene, and we had a really short schedule. And, Evan's in every scene.
Yeah.
So you have to have that face to feel what she's feeling. She's almost in every frame, because I did like moving masters and have her in the foreground, all kinds of stuff. So that was very wild. I mean, I'm like super detailed with the shot list. If I don't make it to this by 9:03, then I have to drop that shot. And one time I had to run up to Holly Hunter and go, Holly, we only have like 13 minutes to get this scene. And the makeup person said, I've only done one eye. I go, I promise I'll shoot that eye and not the other eye. And Holly trusted me and came out of the trailer, and we shot her from that one side. I was like, oh my God, this is getting ridiculous. But that's how we got all the scenes done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the thought of me sitting here with like one eye of eyeliner on and just like make sure I'm sitting like this the entire show.
Literally, there's a scene where she's out on the porch, And if you watch it, that's what she's doing. You only see one eye.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think it is really inspiring, especially for young filmmakers out there, to hear instances of something didn't work the way I planned it, but we wound up with something beautiful because of it. Do you have any examples, whether it's 13, Twilight, anything you worked on where something kind of felt like it was falling apart, but something great came out of it?
Oh, well, I mean, definitely something fell apart in the middle of Twilight on the day that we went to the beach, because I was like, okay, cool, we get to have a sunny day because there's no vampires there. There's only werewolves, and they don't sparkle. So if the sun comes out, we're going to shoot. It's going to add a sunny moment to the movie. No, it was a torrential downpour with like horizontal winds coming in, destroyed 3 camera monitors, and we were just getting blown around. We couldn't even do it. And I'm standing there at the lunch tent. I watched the lunch tent blow away. And I'm like, okay, can we stop shooting, guys? This is getting ridiculous. They're like, no, you have to keep going. We have no money. So I'm like, how the hell can I do this? And I saw some real surfer vans there, and I said, let's move the surfer vans into a circle like a wagon train and have Bella sit in the van, which she does in the movie, and then we'll be sort of out of the rain, and we'll see the storm in the background. And so that's how we had to do the whole scene. I was like, I wanted this like sunny beach scene. No.
It is just wild to hear these things when you think about what Twilight started and what Summit turned out to be and the gigantic productions that came after it. And here you are trying to, accommodate a lunch tent that blew away.
Yeah, no, it was wild, but nobody knew it would make that kind of money, so.
At what point during the making of the movie did you maybe even start to think, this could really catch on?
Well, every day when I wanted more money, because I had a lot more stunts that I wanted to do in the ballet studio, and more stunts in the baseball scene. I had a lot more things planned out, so I'd go in there, try to like have my ammo, and be like, I just printed out all these emails online, all these blogs, and people. Seems like a lot of people are talking about. They're into it. This person's from Israel here, and they're like, Catherine, I said, there's a lot of people like this movie. Could I have a little more money? Nope. That might just be 400 women in Salt Lake City that are all blogging about it. I'd be like, shit. So nobody knew. And also you didn't know, will that translate? Will they go to the theater? Nobody really knew.
It's still a tough thing to gauge nowadays. It's like, I'm a little
Tracking
addicted.
Is never right.
It's never right, and I have an addiction to box office predictions. I just enjoy playing the game of it. And there's a game called Fantasy Movie League where it's basically box office predictions instead of something like fantasy football. Just the whole thing is fascinating to me, but it's really almost impossible to tell now. Like, when is something gonna pop? When is that fan base actually gonna turn out and have butts and seats and make that movie some money?
Exactly. And in Twilight's case, they had no idea. I mean, the Wednesday before, they told me if it makes something with a 3 in front of it, 30 million, we're gonna be happy. Cut to, we made $69 million opening weekend. Then they said everybody that wanted to see it saw it opening weekend. That's all we're gonna make. Cut to $400 million. So they just didn't count on the repeat business and, all the word of mouth and everything.
That is insane. Having had that experience, I mean, what kind of environment do you like working in now? Was kind of all that pressure and I guess kind of excitement of, we want to make a really big thing, but you kind of have, a studio saying, oh, we need to make that 3 in front of it. Do you like that kind of pressure now, or do you steer clear of it?
Well, see, there wasn't so much pressure because the expectations were low. The fact that it wasn't, Captain Marvel or something like that, nobody thought it was going to make money. Every studio rejected this project. So I was able to just do it in that more kind of independent film. Only the weekend before, when we started realizing things are building, they said, well, it seems like it might make something with a 3 in front of it, and that was going to make everybody really happy. So it was never like, if this doesn't do well. But I know that's the case of other movies. I mean, obviously,
it is all we ever talk about here, for better and worse. Sometimes it is nice to talk about that and then celebrate something that does really well, like, let's say, a Black Panther. But then, I feel like it, by teeing it up quite that high, it has set certain movies up for a bigger fall that maybe don't necessarily deserve it.
Right. And then all the marketing money that goes in on top of the budget. And, I mean, it's very elaborate, but I did see a very intelligent marketing scheme to build up this little kind of unknown movie that was rejected by all the studios, had no stars in it, how you could build it up from, kind of 0 to 60. So I watched that firsthand. It was fascinating, but that has made it difficult on my other movies when I haven't seen that strategic intelligence or that, mining the fan base hasn't been used quite in the same effective manner. And I get a little frustrated. I'm like, but I've seen it done, and I know how it works,
I mean, it is interesting, having a movie like this and, looking at it in a way like a double-edged sword, too, because it's like this wonderful thing that inspired so many new movies, but then it sets all these expectations for these other movies that are coming after it, and it's just so hard to meet those.
Because, like, even A Star is Born, which was amazing. Talk about star power, Gaga.
Oh, my God.
Bradley Cooper. It opened to, 45, right? Twilight opened to 69. This is years ago. It's like it's almost unbelievable.
It really is when you think about it. Actually, speaking of Gaga, I was wondering what your experience was like working with her, because obviously she is immensely talented. I admire her, and I had the pleasure of getting to sit down with her only for 4 minutes at Toronto. And
you did?
It was it sounds a little extreme. It was like a mind-blowing thing. It was probably one of the first times in a very long time I've been starstruck, and just to see her sitting there and giving me, because I'm sure with these press circuits, sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes you got to answer the same question over and over, and just to see how happy she and Bradley Cooper were to be sitting there and to get to say anything about this project they're so passionate about was incredible.
No, I mean, she is absolutely mind-blowing on every level now that she's proven herself again to be an incredible actor. And, her music, when you watch the movie, it just blows you away, even though we've been blown away by it before. Oh, no, not even another level, So
you expected her to be able to deliver that big in a leading role in a movie?
I never would doubt her. I think no one should ever doubt her, what she can do. But, even in the music video that I did for that song, I mean, just the song was so powerful. Just hearing her voice and the emotion she put into it, you can just feel where it came from a real place in her life. And then it just inspired everybody on the set to just, let's give everything to this project. And, so on every level, she's, inspiring.
You could feel it in that press day, just the energy in the room, in various rooms, and how much they respect her and appreciate her positivity, energy, and passion on set. You can tell.
She's a remarkable, unbelievable person. Yeah.
Is there anyone you've worked with that's had a similar effect on one of your sets, or maybe even had that effect in a way that kind of surprised you that it was so powerful?
Well, Gina Rodriguez is pretty powerful, I gotta say. She is a very positive spirit, and at any moment, on Miss Bala, if I would get down a little bit, oh my God, we don't have, the car didn't even show up, we don't have the we don't even have the tool, like, where's the camera guy, or, everybody got sick of the catering truck or whatever. She goes, oh, but look, we're getting to make the movie. Yeah. You've been your whole life preparing to do this movie and to solve problems. Like, she would always find a way to spin it into the positive way. And I was like, wow, okay, good point, This is a privilege. I want to, make the most of this moment. Because on one level, how often is there a Latina in the lead of a studio movie? It's a privilege. It's exciting that we got to do it. So
January, right?
January.
Okay,
January.
Great. Yeah, I can't wait to see that one.
And the trailer's coming out on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I need to file that note away in my head so we can put it on our movie talk lineup.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Something you just said just reminded me too. In school, I had a friend who wound up being an AD on a whole lot of films, and every single time someone would get down or frustrated or bummed out about something on set, he would always go, "We're making a movie." And it would just remind you,
Yeah,
like, how
it's
lucky
like,
are you to
we
be,
get
like,
to
it's
do-
difficult, but you're here making a movie.
It's the coolest job,
Yeah.
you know? It's like we're going to bring our story out to the world, you know, one way or the other. It's
Yeah.
very fun. And you're right, we have to think that because it's a lot of pressure. It costs up to like $150,000 a day. So every minute you can just see the money going away when you're waiting for something to show up on set. I could have been filming. I need one more take on that with that actor. You got to have the patience, figure out how to solve all the problems
Yeah.
you can in advance, but you can't solve everything. And
And then there's always
Yeah.
new problems to
Yeah.
solve,
Oh,
too.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
no matter how many movies you make, you're always learning every single step of the way.
yeah, and we filmed this whole last movie in Tijuana, and so there was one moment they said you're going to have to shut down because the body of a policeman was found right near your set, and there's a chase with the cartels going to be going right through here, the high-speed chase. I'm like, okay. Very sad and, you know, heavy and, you know, just anything could happen
Yeah,
at any
it's so
moment.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, you always have to be able to adjust, and also just creatively and prep-wise, too. I imagine you're constantly evolving as a filmmaker, going from film to film and now to Miss Bala. Is there anything that, you know, a new prep practice, a different way to approach coming to set every day that's kind of set in for you over the years?
Yeah, I think Gina had a really strong impact on that just because she is so power positive thinking person, you know, that was really good because sometimes we do get a little too mired down in the problems. So she was great. I've been teaching a class actually at Tribeca Film Festival, Toronto, Sundance, everywhere, called Fix It in Prep. And it is literally about how do you try to anticipate as many problems as possible, eliminate them in the prep process. So I show people sort of my little toolkit of all the methods that I use to fix it in prep. You know, combining some locations and, you know, different
What a
ways.
smart
you know.
title, too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It
Right?
definitely sticks in your head.
Yes, instead of our usual fix it in post.
Well, yeah.
So I've been trying to really anticipate. I learned from ADs and other department heads, like you say, like to pre-anticipate issues. Even when you think, oh, this dog is friendly and this kid loves dogs, you still need to put them together in a room the day before when 5,000 people, you know, 500 people aren't waiting around. Be sure that dog and that kid really do love each other.
Yeah.
If not, have a backup dog, or, you know, all the little things that can really slow you down.
So do you always budget time for rehearsals? Would you ever jump into a movie where it's like, nope, we just got to like hire, run and gun?
I love rehearsals. I also kind of rehearse in the audition process so that even when we're doing like the chemistry reads, I have people, you know, try out real scenes in the movie. I try to get them similar locations that we would really have. I improv, you know, and see if the scene seems to be a little bit boring or not alive enough. Okay, let's try it this way. So I'm always trying to make the script better by the improvs and everything. And then I've almost always been able to have 1 week somehow, at least a portion of a week for rehearsal, even if it was like 5-6 hour days. And so then I'll, you know, maybe that's all I have because you have to go and tech scouts or something. So during those 5 hours, okay, or 6 hours, what are the most critical scenes that could be the red flags, could be a problem, could be difficult for someone to do? Those are the scenes I budget and schedule for that time. So I have a schedule that is down to the minute, even on my rehearsal days. You know, and I try to do it in the real location, and I try to have thought it out and acted out the scene first myself so that the chair actually works, that there is a mic there. You know, I try to think it out before.
Such a smart way to do it because it's always that thing that you won't think of unless you're physically there testing it out in the moment at the place.
Yes, and you have to almost go and run around. Even as a production designer, I would run over and see if I could climb out the window. If I couldn't do it, okay, well, maybe I need to put some ledge or a couch here or something that they can get a step up and go. Oh, that window doesn't actually open that way. Let's fix it for, you know, so
Yeah.
all those little technical things are really important. Plus, not just technical, but the lighting. Like, I'll figure out with the DP which way I really want them to face, and then I'll make feng shui the furniture around so that when Holly Hunter or Rachel Wood or, you know, Kristen or whatever walk in, it's comfortable for them to sit down the way that it's going to light them the best, too.
And that's I'm picturing their house, and it seems to me like such a tight shooting location, too, where all of that and where everything is so precisely important.
Right, and you kind of want, like in the case of 13, you wanted it to feel like these people don't have a lot of money, and they are compressed, and they are kind of on top of each other, and it's layered, but you still have to get the crew in there and the cameras. Yeah.
I think we're running out of time, but I had 2 more questions I really wanted to ask you. One, of the entire ensemble in Twilight, there are a lot of great performances in the movie, but was there anyone in particular that really surprised you, or work they delivered that you were especially proud of?
Well, of course, I have to go for Rob and Kristen, and we can go after that too.
Of course.
But I really thought that they did just a beautiful job of connecting and staying very connected and very present in the moment, and that is not easy to do. Going through as young as they were and everything they were going through at the time, I felt it, and when I've watched clips recently, I still feel it. You still feel that chemistry. I thought Anna Kendrick, of course, hilarious. I love her. I loved Gil Birmingham. I love Billy Burke, the father. He's just so casual but fun and adds all these fun layers. So I thought there were a lot. I mean, I love everybody.
No, I could really tell. And it's just, in prepping for this chat, it's like I started to look at recent interviews from members of the cast. It seems like you really did form a really warm, safe set, and I get the sense, at least, like everybody appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've got to say, it was a lot of fun. It was tough, but it was a lot of fun.
I'm glad to hear that. And now, of course, you don't sit there and watch your movies over and over and over, but if looking back at all of your filmography, is there any one thing that you're especially proud of where you're like, I can't believe I did that?
Well, I love 13. That was really shining a light on something that had not been seen on film before. And I know from people talking to me all around the world, and not just women, and not even just 13-year-olds, that it made a difference, that they felt like this was some part of their life or their experience that was reflected. And I love Lords of Dogtown. That was the most fun ever. That was the summer that I just wish I had, climbing over pools, and I loved all the characters. I loved working with Heath Ledger. He's so beautiful. I've been blessed. This cast, Oscar Isaac, Keisha Cashel, Hughes, on and on. The movie I did in London with Toni Collette, Drew Barrymore, super intense. Gina, Ismael, we've now got the, badass, great new person we are introducing, super sexy guy in Miss Bala that is wonderful and interesting. So, I've been lucky. Great
that's
people.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect way to wrap up with a laundry list of things that if you haven't caught any of these movies, get on it.
There are some fun ones.
There really are, and certain ones I've revisited time and time again, and they kind of never lose that shine that they had in the first viewing. Particularly, I would say Twilight. I would definitely say Twilight, Lords of Dogtown, and 13 are movies that I've watched repeatedly. Catherine, thank you so much for coming in and taking the time. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to talk about the process and some of the behind the scenes element a little more
with somebody that knows it so well. I didn't realize you'd been to film school and produced a movie.
Yes, yeah. I still can't believe that's an accurate statement, but it is.
What's the movie?
The movie is called Child Eater. Okay. It's a horror movie.
Cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Horror has a big place in my heart. I hope you check that out, but I hope all of our viewers and our listeners check out Twilight if you haven't revisited it in a while, and of course a bunch of those other movies that I named, and keep an eye out for some Miss Bala coverage on Collider Movie Talk real soon. So thank you again for being here. Thank you again to everybody watching and listening. Don't forget to like and share, and we will see you soon with more Collider interviews.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. If you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.